My name's Steve Gilbert and I now work as an independent consultant. I go by the title of Serious Mental Illness Living Experience Consultant. There's a reason for that title. I have a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, which is characterised by very, very deep lows and depressions and very high, what we call manic episodes. I didn't know a lot about bipolar disorder, but I knew that it had a big impact on people's lives. I knew that actually this wasn't something that was going to go away. I knew that it would require medication and that it would require lots of different lifestyle changes. I didn't really fight the diagnosis, but it was a real change to my life. Yet over the past, in particular, past kind of 3.5 years, I've really been able to rebuild relationships and actually find out who is a good friend, and also finding other people that are like me, that just get it, that I haven't got to pretend. You're always going to have this as part of your life, but it doesn't have to define you, and everything that happens isn't to do with the bipolar disorder. One of the things that people used to say to me when I was depressed was, what have you got to be depressed about? You're a good looking guy, and you've got the whole life ahead of you, and you've got a good job. And I don't think people were being malicious, but I don't think they knew what to say. And that was nearly 10 years ago, but still today there is a lack of understanding, I think, about actually what people are going through, and it always feels like people are scared to do something in case they do something wrong. My work with mental health charities has really been in this capacity with using my lived experience, and helping them to understand how they best meet the needs of people, and especially around men, and especially around different communities. For example, the African Caribbean community, there are some real need to understand why are people from the African Caribbean community, for example, and why men are having worse outcomes. So really it's about trying to share my experiences with them. And we talk about co-production and co-understanding. I think in the West Midlands there's quite a lot of work going on to really understand how we improve the mental health of the region. Karen was part of the work around the Mental Health Commission for the West Midlands, and having that curiosity, and I think Karen's kind of got that curiosity, but really to understand individual stories. My life hasn't just been about statutory mental health services. It's been about a combination of approaches, and really in the work I've done over the past 3.5 years, there's been informal peer support. So I've been able to meet people that work for different organisations and form relationships with them, and they've kind of shared, have you thought about this, or did you know about this service? If we think about mental health and we think about mental health services, I think there's a perception that mental health is the preserve of statutory services, and they have a very important part to play, but actually a lot of people get the care and support that they need from voluntary services and not from those statutory services. And this is really important to map what is actually going on a national picture, first and foremost, but then on a regional level to understand, well, if we were to pick the West Midlands, what does the voluntary sector look like? What do they provide? What value do they provide to individuals? And what role are they playing, not just in crisis, but also in prevention?